What's happening, YouTube, and welcome to a brand new PRLostGalaxy2014 review. So here I am with like the first of many WWE Elite Collection figure reviews, and for someone who does videos about, you know, Power Rangers, I do also cover other action figures like Marvel Legends, but let's try something different. So to kick off the video series on WWE's Elite Collection, I thought let's go ahead and do this entire wave of SummerSlam figures, because at the time I recorded this, it was July the 25th of this year, with you know, with SummerSlam as of this recording like weeks away, airing on Netflix or Peacock, wherever they're showing the pay-per-view. Because again, I haven't really collected a lot of WWE toys in like a long time. So for the very first time in that long time, I'm going to go ahead and delve into some figure reviews for WWE. If anyone is interested, even though I've already started doing some Star Wars Black Series review figures, so we're going to take a look at some WWE stuff, because for someone who is a pro wrestling fan, I figured let's do some WWE reviews on the channel for a change. And but I'm still going to do the usual, of course, because, you know, I want to show people that I can do series collecting, you know, series high grade action figures and not kid stuff. Even I do have some occasional kid grade WWE figures in my collection at the moment, but I will go over it from a more adult perspective. But these are for us serious collectors, and now that I got the entire wave featuring Roman Reigns and then Charlotte Flair and Triple H and Shawn Michaels when they were in the prime back in like 2003, 2004 in the back, and I, you know, really wanted to do something that, for someone who is a pro wrestling fan and a WWE fan, I figured let's go ahead and take a look at each of these figures one by one. And this is part of that build a William Regal figure wave. And so now that I got all four of them, I can make William Regal come to life. And believe it or not, I got all four of these at one of many local Target stores in Maryland, and I managed to get my hands on every single one. And man, I'm so happy that I finally completed a whole wave in just 1 week and one, you know, day swoop. So I can go ahead and take a look at each of them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see who I start with first. Okay, the first of this wave I'm going to start with is the Cerebral Assassin Triple H, 2003-2004 era Triple H from SummerSlam, whenever it was. And this is my very first Triple H action figure, period, in WWE, in my entire WWE toy collection, because, you know, Triple H has always been one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, so I figured let's go ahead and start with him first, even though the game himself is not really wrestling in WWE anymore as of now. Him just being the chairman and being involved, you know, basically being the guy behind the scenes right now that, given what's recently been in development. And I really want to take a look at this Triple H figure and Shawn Michaels and see how this stacks up, and also put the William Regal figure pieces together. So you have Triple H when he had the long locks of hair. Man, I miss that. I miss it when this dude had that hair. And well, he still got the beard and all, but I just really miss when he had that hair. And especially like even this very vintage 2002, 2003. No, actually, this was Triple H back in SummerSlam 2002, according to what the text says and the backstory and how this all came to be. And now, whenever anybody collects a WWE Elite Collection figure, they're going to feature some stats and also talk about the bio of, you know, the wrestler's certain appearance and, you know, that sort of thing. Because again, this is the very first time owning a higher end WWE action figure. And even though, as much as I'm not really much of a Mattel figure collector guy, but even though Mattel has been doing WWE toys for a long time, but, you know, I just like, all right, but, you know, sometimes Mattel will knock it right out of the ballpark with some sculpting and facial features, but the bodies are fine. But like facial likenesses of some of these people can be hit and miss. But that's just how Mattel rolls with their WWE toys for kids and adults alike. But you know how it is. So this is the front of the package. You got Triple H's name on this side. Of course, the bio and everything, and featuring how to build William Regal. And then, because again, now that I got that whole wave, we're going to go through every single one of them. So let's start with the Cerebral Assassin. Time to play the game first. Okay, now that we got Triple H out of the package, we're going to take a look at a few accessories. The first being the Build-A William Regal figure piece that he came with. So when you get Triple H, you get William Regal's legs and buttocks, you know, the whole, you know, lower area of William Regal. And so when we put him together later. So that's about it. Sledgehammer's in his hand, and very much like, yeah, old school Triple H right there. And then you got some interchangeable hands. One hand that is Triple H's hand, and I believe one of these, no, both fists are basically Triple H also. So let's take a look at Triple H's figure and how they did him very well. Being very inspired by his 2002 SummerSlam appearance. And yeah, this is very much like how he looked back in the day. The way how they did his pectorals, his abdomen, and just his entire body back then, because, you know, this was when Triple H was still, like, you know, in his prime, and back when he was, you know, when he was the game. He's still the game now, even with him being behind the scenes in WWE doing who knows what with the company. But this was him back in his heyday, and from how I remembered him also, back before he cut the hair bald. Yeah, that's pretty darn cool that they actually put a, you know, they did a good job capturing his likeness, and I believe they, yeah, he does, this does look very much like 2002 Triple H, from the detail on the hair, and, you know, the facial features like his eyebrows, his nose, his jawline. Yep, very much like him. And then his wrestling gear from the time, and actually it has always been. So, of course, if you probably haven't noticed that if you get any of these WWE Elite Collection figures, if for some wrestlers, some of their wrestling gear, the way how they sculpted some of their gear, like armbands, knee pads and stuff, are going to be plastic rubber. So you got to be careful bending some knees and try to do some bend, you know, some knee crunches and stuff on some of them. Like, for instance, I'm trying to do a knee crunch on Triple H because due to the rubber plastic on the knees. So you're not going to do much. Well, and also depending on who you do get from the Elite Collection or even the Ultimate Edition WWE figures. And I will eventually do those too. Let's see about elbow crunches. Elbow crunch, well, again, due to the rubber on the knee, on the elbow joints, you can't really do this, so you can just go as far as this with the elbow crunches on each male wrestler mostly, and especially, yeah, well, actually you can slightly get this all the way with the hand swivels, and okay, you can get, you can turn the head around, so because again, back end of the hair is rubber, so you can turn Triple H's head around. Ankle pivots is pretty good, darn good, you know, no issues there on the ankle pivots. And yeah, now let's put that actually the way how I had him, just to show off how Triple H looked. I say he was a good, this looks like a really good entry to start with. So there's Triple H right there. On to my next pro wrestler in the collection. Okay, so next up, you can't complete Triple H without his best friend, or in this case, ex-best friend, Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. First time also owning a Shawn Michaels action figure in my, you know, by the way, I know, TMI. So Shawn Michaels, he's next. And he comes, now when you get Shawn Michaels, he comes with William Regal's head for the Build-A-Figure, so there's not that much accessories besides the William Regal head and the different changeable hands, but we're going to take a look at them. But this Shawn Michaels does look pretty impressive, I do say so myself. And I know I'm going to get other figures of Shawn Michaels, Triple H, every other WWE wrestler I like personally, even if they're not wrestling anymore. Yeah, they're, you know, certified authentic, very much like how they looked in real life, and the clothing they wore during certain, you know, events, certain matches and stuff like that. In the bio of when Shawn Michaels and Triple H was fighting at that year's SummerSlam. Again, I didn't even watch SummerSlam that year, but I can tell from what was going on, you know. Yep, just like that. So let's unbox Shawn Michaels and how he stacks up. Alright, now Shawn Michaels is out of the box. When you get him out, I've also noticed that he does come with two different head variations of William Regal from that time. You got him as is with his faded brown hair or so, but then you also have the injured William Regal head. And jeez, man, the way how they sculpted that face, where he really got his ass screwed and beat up, and you can see some scab and try to, you know, give that authentic lifelike bruise to his eyebrow and upper, you know, lower part of his forehead. So you got that bit of detail going on for that William Regal head. As for HBK himself, I've noticed that when I took him out, oh yeah, real life, so with real life, certain WWE figures will have some realistic clothing on them, despite the scaling of these figures being 6 or 7 inches, mainly 6 inches. And I really like the realistic detail done on Shawn's shirt. Everything else, especially this silver braille outfit, is all plastic. And due to the plastic, speaking of, you can't really do much like knee crunches, so that's kind of where things weigh things down a little bit for me with this Shawn Michaels figure. I mean, I bet you when I get other Shawn Michaels figures in the WWE Elite Collection and the Ultimate Edition Collection, I hope I don't have this problem. But I just don't understand why with this Shawn Michaels that the knees won't do no bending or anything. But unless let's see something here, because of course, if I want to pull off his signature pose, him doing to be more authentic to how he always posed when he gets into the ring. Yeah, I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy and all of that. Okay, let's try to get that bent. But I know this is not the best recreation of doing Shawn Michaels' iconic, you know, Heartbreak Kid pose, but this is the best I could do. Yeah, I mean, again, this is an alright decent figure though, but it's just, again, what weighs this figure down is there's just not much you can do on the lower legs, but the ankle pivots you can do, so that's fine. And then the arms, you can do the elbow crunch. I mean, the elbow crunches are pretty darn good on this one. You can turn the head around, because also like the Triple H figure, the back end of the hair is plastic, so you can move the head around in all directions and sides. And also, I do like the sculpting and look on Shawn Michaels, even though in some angles of the Shawn Michaels, it can look a little bit like Ron Van Dam sometimes. I don't know, that's just me. Okay, so now that we took a look at Triple H and Shawn Michaels from the past, 2 decades ago, now on to more modern WWE with 2 wrestlers that are currently in the roster, male and female, in their respective, well, factions. Third and next in the wave is our only female in the wave, Charlotte Flair, the queen of the women's division. And you know, this is my very first Charlotte Flair figure, Ric Flair's daughter. But honestly, you know, as much as I'm not really much of a Charlotte Flair fan, no offense to anybody who's a fan of the queen, and no offense to the queen herself, but I like your figure and all, but I just don't really like your character. I don't really like how, you know, much of a bitch she can be sometimes, no offense, but she has some, you know, she did have some decent figures when I go around looking for some WWE Elite Collection figures of the women in the roster, you know, past and present, and I really thought, okay, let's add some Charlotte Flair, like some Flair from the queen herself in this wave, shall we? So when you get her in this build day 2004 SummerSlam William Regal wave, she does come with William Regal's arms and, you know, interchangeable hands for him as well. So when I got Triple H, he came with his legs. You know, when I got Shawn Michaels, it came with, you know, the 2 different heads for William. So Charlotte comes with the arms. So we're going to take a look at Charlotte out of the box, and Nature Boy's daughter comes out with William's arms, and see how she also looks overall with the guys, since this is quite of a sausage fest in the wave anyway. Okay, if you can barely see Charlotte, now we got her out of the box. So this is her doing her signature, you know, pose when, you know how she is when she comes into the ring and want to face whoever in the women's division in WWE. She's always doing that pose and like bow to the queen or you get fucked up. But that's just how she rolls. So when you get Charlotte Flair in this wave, you get William Regal's arms just exactly as they are with the joints. So when we put him together, now that we got, you know, the head, these 2 arms, the lower area of William. So we're almost done with the review anyway. So we're going to take a look at Charlotte and see how she looks so far. Now this does authentically looks like Charlotte to some nth degrees, even though this is the first time owning a Charlotte Flair figure in any capacity in my WWE collection. And I think they did a good job on the figure, though, even though I'm not really much of a, you know, fan of Charlotte all that much because of, well, how she is as a, you know, character on the show. Yeah, I do like the way how they put detail to her bleach blonde hair. Very nice, and even her you know, her muscles on the arms and the abdomen, cleavage to some degree. Yeah, but and like again, with any in this, since this is the first female wrestler I unopened and did a review on, you know, with any female wrestler I get in WWE's Elite Collection in any means, when it comes to doing these knee crunches due to, again, their knee gear, you're not going to do much bending the legs all that much unless you know, move. Maybe I'm just being too lazy on that. You get some toe articulation on the toes. I didn't see that with the guys, but this is like the first I did this with a female wrestler. You like the way how they sculpted her backside, you know, her butt and everything, her back. And let's see about the hair in terms of like, I guess you can also turn her head around due to how long Charlotte's hair is front and back everywhere. Jeez. Okay, but that's about it with that. So not much to say on Charlotte, but it's an alright thing. And last but certainly not least, I saved him the best for last. Roman Reigns from SummerSlam 2023. Because in fact, when I got Roman Reigns and Charlotte, whatever happened in 2023 in WWE, well, I wasn't watching anything with them in 2023 because 2023 was, well, that downturn, you know, year of my downturn at the time, so I didn't really know what the heck was going on. But given what happened with Roman Reigns in SummerSlam, much like with Charlotte, so when Charlotte fought Bianca Belair for the Women's Championship at SummerSlam 2023, while Roman Reigns, well, this was when he was still in his head of the table era. And I still remember watching some of that head of the table stuff in 2023, but I just wasn't watching what the heck was going on. Besides the fact that, okay, so when Roman Reigns, yeah, he defended his undisputed WWE Universal Championship. This was when the Universal Championship belt was still active, but they discontinued it sometime last year in 2024, from what I heard, I think. And his rightful place as Tribal Chief against his cousin Jey Uso in Tribal Combat at SummerSlam. Okay, because, you know, whenever you see Roman Reigns with this gear, now when I was at Target, I did saw another Roman Reigns exactly like this, but it was in a 4-pack. It was this, you know, well, whenever I get my hands on that 4-pack, if I ever do. But anyway, but let's take a look at the head of the table in all its glory so we can wrap up everything and finally also put William Regal together. While I do like the way how this wave looks so far, now that we've completed the wave and since you've reached to the end of the video, and with me reviewing the last figure in the SummerSlam wave of figures, the build William Regal. So here we are, the Tribal Chief, head of the table from 2023, Roman Reigns in that time when he was head of the table, and this is when he was in his, you know, when he was a heel face during that time, because I remember sometime during the Big V, whenever, you know, after when Paul Heyman broke things off with Brock Lesnar, or Brock broke things off with Paul first, then that's when he turned to Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns became heel. The rest was history. But this was Roman Reigns when he was still head of the table, aka head of the heel, you know, let's just put it that way, heel of the table, and when he still had the Universal Championship on him. Now, okay, so like I was saying, when I was at Target, there was this exact same Roman Reigns in a 4-pack with 3 other WWE wrestler legends with the championship belt on them. Well, if I ever go back to Target and see, you know, get it, I'll probably do a review on it if it's worth that time, if anyone's interested and curious. So look at all the detail done. Of course, there's tribal sleeve and body tattoo on the arm and the chest and back and everything. Just authentically exactly how Roman Reigns always looked in real life with the tattoo and everything. That's pretty darn cool. And then there's Samoan Aloha, you know, like tribal neck piece. You know, you can also take this off too, because, you know, if you don't want Roman looking like that and looking stupid while facing anybody in the ring with it. Take a look at every single bit of articulation on Roman. I didn't do this much with the abdomen crunching on Triple H and Shawn Michaels, but okay, but you know, it's just like with a lot of them. But what I do like about Mattel's, you know, high-end figures for WWE and possibly He-Man, and I mean, they did do some of these body joints and, you know, articulation points faster than, let's say, whatever Hasbro does with Marvel Legends. Yeah, I mean, whatever they did is cool, but, you know, I just really like this Roman Reigns figure a lot, even though there's going to be plenty more to collect of him where that comes from, though. But I just really like how this Roman Reigns came out, in my opinion. And since Roman Reigns is one of my favorite wrestlers in modern day WWE, and I was like, yeah, I gotta get Roman. I really gotta have a Roman Reigns in my collection in any capacity. And it's just, I really like the way how they just put so much detail to him, and the same go for the rest of every WWE wrestler I'll get in the Elite. I do like the detail done on the hair, so that's spot on and great. And then his facial likeness, even though it can look like somebody else, Samoan and, you know, the tribe and all that in the bloodline, you know, but it is Roman Reigns because his skin has always been, well, especially how for the toy they made his skin darker, but his real life complexion is a little lighter, depending on the lighting and the camera lighting and all of that whenever you see him in the ring on Raw or SmackDown. I like the way how they put detail on the pants, his black pants, wrinkles and all, and those red boots. So that's really darn cool. As for, yeah, so we already went over the abdomen crunch. Elbow crunch has already been dealt with on both arms, but again, yeah. Okay, and then as for the knee crunch, knee crunch is really spot on, and also ankle pivot on this leg. Knee crunch and ankle pivot is also spot on this leg, but man, to me, this, I would say if there was one figure from this Build-A William Regal wave for SummerSlam, definitely Roman Reigns. Let's put together William Regal and we're done. Okay, so before we close out the video, time to put William Regal together. So first we take the legs that came from Triple H, and then the torso, was it from Roman? Yeah, Roman Reigns had the torso. So all you have to do is be careful putting this into the hole, to the abdomen. Make sure it's, you know, in all the way. Yeah, it snapped in very well. And knowing Charlotte came with William's arms, so make sure the arms go into the sockets of the figure. I'm kind of getting some flashbacks from months ago when I was doing the build a Hydra Stomper for Marvel Legends, and it was like tough trying to put that one of the arms into the sockets of that fit. It was giving me a hard time with that one. And I mean, if I'm struggling, let me know. Make sure that the arms are in the sockets all the way, and nothing falls out, plops out, or anything. Well, yeah, I'm kind of having some struggling. Just making sure it's in the, you know, the socket, and, you know, trying to get the right arm in the socket. I think I got the, nope, I didn't get the left arm in there all the way. Unless I have to, you know, screw it in, like I'm using a screwdriver to screw something in. Because again, I've never really done much Build-A-Figure stuff before, but again, it's something I need to get used to when it comes to these kind of figures. Then we got to do the other arm, kind of screw that into, like you're doing screwdriver job, making sure it's in the arm all the way. And make sure the any of the two, you know, interchangeable heads for William is in the, you know, the ball joint of the head. Kind of like how I would do this in Marvel Legends and whatnot. Just make sure and again, I'm scared that I'm going to break that ball joint. And what do you know? William Regal is finally assembled. 2004 William Regal, if you will. You can also, you know, if you don't want to do that head, you can also have him in his beat up head, and there you have it with that. So that completes my SummerSlam Build-A William Regal wave in the WWE Elite Collection. So in final thoughts, this is a good wave, even though this is the first time I actually done this for WWE. Even though there's plenty of Build-A-Figure waves for WWE I can do as well, but if I have the time for them. But this is just like the first of many I'm going to do for now, but just do more like standalones and standalones that don't do Build-A-Figure. So that's it for my review for this wave of WWE Elite Collection. Now that that's been complete, let's move on to my next wave in another video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time with a brand new review, whether it be for WWE or Power Rangers or Star Wars or Marvel. Let me know if you want to see a certain figure you want me to review from either of those, and I will check those out if I have the spare time for them. with all that being said, thanks for watching.